We are back, guys. The Eastern Conference Finals. It is now 3-2 after the Game 5 win for the Boston Celtics. Nick Van Boylen, Joe Money Makara with me. Joe, what went right for those Boston Celtics?
So for the Celtics, it wasn't always an easy matchup to get to this win, but we noticed they started the game off a little sluggish. I know in the first quarter, some of us looked and said, is this the end of the Celtics season? But we saw in the second half, they really just came out rejuvenated with kind of a sense of urgency. Like, our season is on the line. I know a lot of us in this locker room are young, but we need to step up if we want to continue our path at winning this title. And you saw guys in the second half like Tatum, Brown, even Kemba Walker, Hayward. It was a nice team collective effort, and because of that, they really slowed down Miami. So I thought the difference was in the second half, you noticed Boston began to get much better looks compared to the first half when it seemed like even the points they were getting weren't off of good looks, weren't off of good possessions. They were kind of working very hard for their points. And meanwhile, it seemed to flip script in the second half, while Miami in the second half seemed to struggle to get their points. And Boston was getting easy looks by swinging the ball, working the post a little, working through their superstar in Tatum. And that's how they got the win, and they forced a Game 6.
Nick, what went wrong for Miami?
Well, I think the big glaring mark for the Heat tonight, 7 of 36 from deep, 19.4% on the three-point shooting, a really terrible shooting performance, and that was almost the story of the game. And it's something that's actually been bothering the Heat the last few games. They've been shooting under 30% from deep, stretching back to really Game 2, where guys like Hero and Butler have had these massive performances, but they've actually masked some of the other players in their shooting performances. We saw mentioned during the broadcast that Jay Crowder's really struggled from deep after being a microwave scorer from long range. He's 3 of 22 on his last that a collective amount of 3-point shots, and they just couldn't really get any of their jumpers to go. Like Joe said, contrasting sort of energies in both halves. The Heat came out of the blocks really firing. We saw some Duncan Robinson layups. That's how good they were going early. And, Duncan had a pretty good performance to start things, 12 points in the first quarter, but only finished with 20 points, and he shot 3 of 11 from deep. So when he's having a bad shooting night, it's a bad shooting night for everybody involved. Butler had his fingerprints all over the game from the get-go. He was, assisting, defending, rebounding the ball, taking advantage of the matchups on Kemba. He looked really good early, but again, another player who faded out of the game. And just the energy level sort of comparable in the two halves was massive. The Heat came out of the blocks in the third quarter looking really lackadaisical. The energy was just a little bit down. You saw them go to the zone for the first time in the second half there, not early on like they had been doing previously. And probably where they got killed as well in that third quarter is the fact that Miami had to play in the bonus for the last 9 minutes of that third quarter. Boston able to get to the line basically whenever they wanted, really allowed the Celtics to control the tempo of the game and really put the Heat away. The Heat also got killed inside where Cantor and Tice had field days. Boston were +7 on the offensive glass and +12 on the boards overall. Although Bam finished with 13 points, 8 boards and 8 assists, it just didn't seem that he had the spark and the energy that I guess a lot of the team were lacking, but it was particularly noticeable with him as he got sort of outbodied and bullied around a little bit by Cantor and Tice. And that was kind of the game. Hero struggled to bounce back from his awesome historic performance from the last game, 14 points and 6 of 12 shooting. Certainly wasn't the worst Miami player. Dragic tried to get things going late. He got to the cup a lot more, but 1 of 7 from deep as well for him. But then when he fouled out, that was really all she wrote for Miami.
Yeah, we did see a lot of fouls. I did remember to bring my whistle this time. The officiating has been a point of contention throughout the playoffs. So every time that does happen, you will see Jack Manuel bringing his whistle. But yeah, I think you guys hit the nail on the head there. Give me a quick Game 6 prediction, Joe.
Game 6 prediction. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Celtics force a Game 7. And I feel like Miami, if their shots are falling, they're dangerous. But as we saw tonight, if their shots aren't falling, it's that simple. If their shooters aren't getting good looks or aren't knocking them down, it's tough for them to get these wins.
Nick?
I think the Heat bounce back and end the series the next game. But as Joe said, if the shots aren't dropping, they run out of options. But I think Hero and Duncan Robinson will bounce back strongly and get Miami to an NBA Finals.
It is a make or miss league, my friends. I'll end with another thing. A cop shot a black woman and was only charged for the shots missed. How about that, ladies and gents? Stay good, be well to each other.